So the first one is that there's a really big question about nurtures versus nature. We have this desire not to do research in education, right? It's tough. Who would want to put their kids in a control condition? Or who would want to put their kid in a condition that might not be as good? So we don't do experiments, and as a consequence, we don't know much about education. So education is a huge part of GDP. We spend tremendous amount of time on it, and we have to admit that we don't know much about it. So if I could, that would be one of the areas where I would seriously spend time, but I would have to be able to really experiment in this.
My dream study would be to settle the existence or the non-existence of loss aversion once and for all. Loss aversion is quite a foundational concept in behavioral science, and a lot of it is built on it. So if it were to be found to be an illusion, I think we might have to rethink quite a lot of the insights we use every day. But can it really be that the vast majority of our colleagues, of the people in our profession, simply fail to see that the emperor is not wearing any clothes? Or could loss aversion perhaps be a more complex affair that manifests itself in so many different ways that it's a bit more slippery than we thought? I don't know, but I think we ought to find out, and I would love to be part of the effort.
Right now, I'm lucky enough to work on a massive project. It's called the All of Us Research Program, led by the National Institutes of Health. It is a project where we aim to engage 1 million or more people living across the United States to donate their health information to a research database that researchers can then access and use for medical research, hoping to lead to medical breakthroughs for all of us. With that, so there's a ton of potential on the medical side, medical breakthroughs in treatment and prevention. But the thing that excites me most about it is we have an amazing opportunity to understand how people engage with healthcare research and healthcare providers. So early on in the program, we'll take a look at what does it take to get people to engage in medical research, especially those who have been traditionally underrepresented in medical research. How do we motivate folks to share their data and become participant partners in the program? Later on, there's all sorts of interesting things too. So when we start to return individual health data to folks, there's just a ton of stuff that we can start to do and start to explore. So when you return something like a polygenic risk score, how do people react to that? How do people react to data in the different ways that it's framed? How do people make decisions based on their individualized, personalized data coming in? And then there's other things. How do you get people to even track their behavior in the first place? How do you engage people and get them to wear devices like a Fitbit, for instance, or some other wearable device rather than just wearing it for a short time frame and then throwing it in a drawer and never seeing it again. So all sorts of interesting things. I'm lucky enough to be working on my dream experiment right now.
It's a hard one. I think what I would say is my dream experiment are the experiments I'm about to run. Most classrooms in schools have a class parent, and usually that class parent is relatively high SES, and it's usually a mother, and the mother will make a good faith effort to get other parents involved. Usually, low SES parents will not get involved in this classroom parent network. And we're doing an intervention where we, I should back up and note that something like 95% of high SES parents can name the parent of another kid in their kid's classroom, whereas less than half of low SES parents can. So there's just this network gap. They don't know each other. And so what we would want to do is train the classroom parent who's already volunteered to take on this role to be more effective at including and reaching out to parents who are disengaged with what's going on in the class. The second is an intervention where we make rising ninth graders friends with each other. So there's an intervention called the interpersonal closeness induction where we can make people friends. It's a set of 30 questions. The New York Times a couple years ago made a popular version of it to make people fall in love. And we are getting ninth graders to go through this 20 or 30 minute induction where they become friends. And my friends become your friends become my friends. And especially in the beginning of ninth grade when students don't feel like they belong and are especially vulnerable to disengagement will start to feel both social connection and hopefully more success in school.